Thierry checks up on me a lot, and it's nice, you know. It's Thierry.
Magic.
Reno looking for Saka. Brilliant. And Bukayo Saka has surely chipped Arsenal into the Champions League semi-final.
So Henry getting clear. It's Thierry Henry. He scored. He scored for Arsenal in the Bernabeu.
He's done the same here, so it's nice that we can both share this picture.
I thought 2 years ago, Saka and Odegaard were looking like what I was thinking, oh God, these are the real deal. These are like, this is going to be like Salah and De Bruyne type of, like, they're nearly there, and they just never sort of, the team are probably going to win the league, but I think if Arsenal win the league this season, I don't think one of the attacking players will go, I've had an amazing season, I've been brilliant this season.
The story of Bukayo Saka is one of the most fascinating stories in modern football, because it is not just about goals, assists, or talent. It is about pressure, expectation, pain, and the heavy burden of being called the future before your present is even complete. For some fans, Saka is already one of the best wingers in the world, the heartbeat of Arsenal F.C., the player who makes everything happen when the team needs a moment of magic. But for others, he is still overrated, still protected by hype, still nowhere near the standards set by true world-class wingers like Mohamed Salah, Kylian Mbappe, or Vinicius Jr. And that tension is what makes his story so powerful, because every great football journey needs one question hanging over it. Is this already greatness? Or are we just witnessing the painful beginning of something far bigger?
Of course. How are you?
I'm fine, okay.
Really nice to see you, I'm okay. Wow, it's been years.
Dad, is he still eating pasta?
What do you think I'm eating now?
I'm happy to see you today. I'm asking that there was my voice.
No, I'm really happy to see you too.
Me too.
It's been years. Wow.
What's it like, you know, to have someone like Bukayo come back and, you know, inspire some of these young guns?
So he's an inspiration, you know, as a player, but also as a person. That is really important to us.
There's a part of me feels like it's quite normal because it's Bukayo, and when we see him at Colney in the canteen, he comes and talks to us because he's just a normal lad. But for the young boys here, it's so inspirational, right? And for him to be here on a Friday night when we've got games coming on, and him wanting to see the kids and see the coaches, sums up who he is as a person and as a human being. And obviously we're not surprised, and he wants to make sure he sticks to his roots, and yeah, we're buzzing to have him here. Yeah,
because as a person, he's really great. Is there anything that, you know, people might not know about him that you guys could maybe shed light to?
Well, most people would probably know, but it's probably worth mentioning. I think in his exams he got 5 A's and 5 A stars. So Per's hugely big on one of our pillars, being a lifelong learner and concentrating on your education and making sure you've got something to fall back on. So on the pitch, absolutely he's an inspiration, and all the kids would look up to that. But it's also important to know that at school he was very good and very smart, and you know, his background was a very humble one, but they made sure he was very good when he was away at Hale End, so we made sure when he was here he could concentrate on his football. So I think that's a big part of him as a person, for sure, yeah.
I think that plays a major part, you know, how you are as a person, you know, how you develop that. Otherwise, there's not many chances, you know, you will get in life in general, but as well on the football pitch.
It all started in the quiet training pitches of Hale End, where Saka was never built up as the loudest wonder kid in England. He was not introduced to the world with the same noise as some of the biggest academy stars. Instead, he rose through discipline, humility, and an intelligence beyond his years. He understood space, timing, and responsibility long before most players his age even understood pressure.
Willock. That's a great ball for Saka to run onto. Good move from Arsenal, John Jules. Lovely goal. A real tempo about Arsenal's play already as Sheaf gets it from Ballard. And oh, that's a beautiful ball. Saka, John Jules, 2-0. Now, and going long, and it's a super ball, and there's no offside. And here's John Jules, and on towards Saka. It's 3. 9th minute. and it could be a cricket score. Arsenal absolutely brilliant, and they really don't want this season to end. They've still got 80 minutes of it left.
For the Gunners, 5 minutes of normal time. Saka the substitute, looking to go beyond Reece Williams, and does. Still Saka. Oh, and a brilliant goal! And it's a goal that keeps Arsenal's Youth Cup dreams alive.
When he finally stepped into Arsenal's first team as a teenager, it did not feel like the arrival of a superstar. It felt like the club had simply found someone dependable in the middle of chaos. That is what made him special from the beginning. He was not just talented, he was trusted. But sometimes trust can become its own burden. While other young players were allowed to develop quietly, Saka became the symbol of Arsenal's recovery. Fans looked at him as the face of hope, the player who would drag the club back to where it believed it belonged. Every touch, every dribble, every chance created came with expectations far bigger than his age. This is the part many people miss when telling his story. Saka was not just playing football, he was carrying the emotional weight of one of the biggest clubs in the world trying to rebuild its identity. Then came the moment that changed everything, the UEFA Euro 2020 final. On one of football's biggest stages, with the eyes of an entire nation fixed on him, Saka stepped forward to take the decisive penalty for the beginning of his career. When the penalty was saved, the moment instantly became one of the most heartbreaking scenes in modern football. For many players, that would have been the chapter that destroyed the story. Confidence shattered, belief lost, fear taking over every future big moment. But this is where Saka's journey becomes more than football. Instead of letting that pain define him, he turned it into fuel. That missed penalty became the emotional core of his rise. Every goal after that felt like a response. Every assist felt like defiance. Every big performance for Arsenal felt like proof that failure had not broken him. In many ways, that moment created the version of Saka we know today. Calmer, stronger, more mature, and mentally tougher than most players his age. As Arsenal began to rise under Mikel Arteta, Saka transformed from promising youngster into the team's most reliable star. This is where the overrated debate truly exploded. Fans saw his consistency and called him elite. Critics saw the praise and argued it was too early. They pointed to players like Salah, whose numbers, trophies, and iconic Champions League nights had already built a historic legacy. They looked at Mbappé, a World Cup winner with extraordinary output, and Vinicius, a player who delivered on Europe's biggest stage. Compared to them, Saka's trophy cabinet looked incomplete. His story was still in progress, and that is exactly why the debate is so compelling. The critics are not completely wrong when they say he should not yet be compared to the most proven world-class wingers. Greatness at that level is measured over years, through trophies, title-winning moments, and the ability to dominate on the biggest nights in football. Saka is still building toward that stage, but what makes his supporters equally convincing is the fact that few players his age combine consistency, leadership, intelligence, and resilience the way he does. Week after week, he delivers numbers, creates chances, and carries responsibility like a veteran. His peak moments already read like the foundation of something legendary. His breakout season during Arsenal's difficult years showed he could shine in adversity. His performances in the 2022-23 title challenge turned him into one of the most feared right-wingers in the Premier League. Defenders knew exactly what he wanted to do, yet still struggled to stop him. His ability to cut inside, combine with teammates, and produce goals in key moments made him the face of Arsenal's title dream. For England national football team, his redemption arc after Euro 2020 made him one of the most emotionally powerful stories in international football.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Supporting the form of Alexander Arnold, now crossing. Saka, the ball that was, and he's got it!
But perhaps the most engaging part of Saka's story is not what he has already done. It is what the criticism itself represented. They are really revealing how high the expectations around him have become.
He's washed, man.
Why is he washed?
He can't shoot, he can't finish. He's just a dead baller.
He's got over 100 goal contributions in the Premier League.
Arsenal in general, they're not a good team, to be honest with you. Right here, he has buttery hands. He can't save.
He's got the most clean sheets in the Premier League.
Nah, that's fake. Show me proof.
Brother, go on the Premier League app.
I don't believe you.
Saka, it's the only negative today. The only negative. And we all need to have this conversation about Bukayo Saka because he's been rubbish for months. Let's just be real with it. He couldn't get past the fullback and then gave up and started waving his arms around. The centre-back caught him up. He missed a chance one-on-one with the keeper, and he should have squared it to Eze, by the way. But again, he needs his bonus, doesn't he?
Nobody calls average players overrated. That label only exists when the football world already sees the possibility of greatness. It is proof that the standard around him has changed. He is no longer judged as a young winger. He is judged as a player expected to stand beside the very best in the world. And maybe that is the true heart of the story. Bukayo Saka is living in the uncomfortable space between brilliance and legacy. He is good enough to be compared to the elite, yet still unfinished enough for those comparisons to feel premature. That tension makes every season more dramatic. Every missed chance becomes ammunition for critics. Every world-class performance becomes fuel for believers. So the real story is not whether he is overrated, it is whether we are watching the difficult middle chapter of a future football legend. Because years from now, when the trophies come, when the biggest nights finally belong to him, and when his numbers begin to rival the players he is compared to today, the same people who doubted him may look back at this exact period and realize they were watching the making of greatness in real time. And that is what makes Bukayo Saka's story unforgettable, not because he has already reached the top, but because the climb itself is what has made the world unable to look away.
Great chances. So, but Saka was for me. I think Saka was the star.
Yeah,
I mean to do what he did. I mean, he's so good, isn't he?
I was a little bit worried when he was playing wing back. I thought England would go into that sort of negative mindset where they would drop a little deeper, but they were brave.
Me too. I was convinced.
They were brave.
I was convinced we would, but we didn't.
And Saka, whether he was going inside, whether he was going out, you know, he took his goals so well. We've seen it so much for Arsenal this season. I think in terms of goal scoring, after Kane, I think Saka's the most important. I think his number.
Yeah, he hasn't scored for a while. First goal for about 13 months for England.
But he does make an impact. And it's not just what he does on the ball, it's his strength as well. And his defensive ability. I think that's why Southgate trusts him so much. We talked about Cole Palmer, and a lot of people on social media, a lot of fans are calling for Palmer to start. But when you've got Saka, who's so consistent and he can give you the balance within the team.
And in the other position that he could play, which would be where Foden or Bellingham are now. I mean, Foden, I think, came to life because he's in, you know, he's so good in as a 10. And he's, you know, he can take the ball on the half turn. And particularly in the first half, I thought he was really, you know, probably one of the key players. But you're right about Saka. Saka's, you know, and I mean, he's such kind of comes across as this sweet kid, but he's tough, you know.
You was tearing up a little bit, weren't you, on BBC in terms of
when Saka scored.
When Saka scored his penalty, obviously we all know what happened in the last Euros when he missed the penalty and his stick he got for that. To overcome that and have the cojones to go again.
Cojones.
Cojones. Yeah, we're not talking about draws, do we? to overcome that and just have the personality to do it. And I think that's where you can measure a player. Anyone in the England squad, we know they've got ability, but it's in the moment. We talk about the Jude Bellingham moment against Slovakia, and then Kane not playing well but getting the goal. Okay, staying in the game today against a well-organised Swiss side that, okay, in certain moments, you're going to have to defend. But when you're on the ball, are you going to be brave? I think in terms of tactically, Southgate, the way he managed to get Foden and Bellingham in the 10s, obviously Rice, and I thought Mainu was very good again in terms of when he's travelling with the ball, the passes he makes. There was one part in the game where he took 3 out the game where he just dropped his shoulder and bursted forward. But I think that's what we've been crying out for. And again, we'll give credit to Southgate for that, for being brave. A lot of people will think, okay, we're playing a 3 or 5 at the back. It's negative, but actually...
It wasn't a 5.
It actually... in the game, it was a positive move, and that's what
I mean. It was hard to think
about
that actually Saka was playing as a wing back,
because
he was so high most of the game.
But we talked
and even
about
at the
that.
end when they switched him to like left wing back, and he tracked back and cut out that cross right near the end.
Amazing.
I mean, he's brilliant.
But it was so good tactically, because we mentioned before on the previous podcast, the way they have Abisha on the left and Ndoye on the right.
Yeah.
If you allow them to go really high on you, they make you become a 5 at the back.
Yep.
They didn't allow that.
That's what I was really worried about.
That's
before the
what
game.
I was
thought
worried
that
about.
would happen because we've seen so many times England sit, and I think we praised them a lot at half time because I think it was, if in an ordinary game you go, it was good. Didn't create too many chances, or hardly any chances. A couple of shots that were good efforts. But I think the reason we were kind of so, I think probably delighted about the first half performance was the fact that it was so different from the previous one.
Exactly.
And the tactics had worked, and you could see the difference. You could see Foden in